Hey guys, today we are going to learn how to draw, and I think every developer should be good at drawing. That is an important skill, right? Just kidding, of course. But we are going to build a very interesting drawing app with straightforward UI using Hive for local storage. And those are the main feature of our app. The user will be able to draw what he wants and select the brush size and even change the color of his drawing. He can undo and redo to correct his drawing. And finally, one of the most interesting part is the storing each of his drawing by generating like a thumbnail directly so he can see it on his homepage. Hope you are going to like this tutorial, and if you are ready, let's go.
Great. So we will start by creating the main pages we will need for our application, then implementing the logic and finish by beautifying the UI and UX for our application. But first of all, let me just show you. Um, I'm just going to use the version 3.24.4 with Flutter. I mean, you can use whatever you want for this application, it is not a requirement that is mandatory. And for our structure, what we are just going to do is to split them in a different feature. So I'm just going to create a feature folder, and inside feature folder for our application, we are going to have like three main feature. So the first one are going to be the draw. Then the second one are going to be the home, where we will have like our home page. And the third one, I mean, this is actually the first one, but let's just call it like splash for the splash screen, basically. And as you can see, currently I have my app that just show welcome to Flutter guys, and I just display it in the main. Of course, we are going to refactor this code as well. But first of all, let's just start by creating, for example, the different pages that we are just going to need. So here we are going to have like the presentation, and inside presentation we are going to have like our splash screen dot dart. Great, right? And inside the home page, that is very similar. We are going to have like the presentation folder, and inside the presentation folder we will have um, also the home screen. And the home screen is the place where we will display in the grid, for example, all the drawing that we have already um, did in the past and saved, of course. So, and the draw that are going to be like draw presentation, and inside the draw presentation we are going to have like the draw page, as this is actually the page or the draw screen. You can call it like screen or page, whatever you want. And this is actually the place where the user are going to draw anything he want, change the color, choose the brush size, and yeah, he can just express his talent, whatever. So what we are just going to do is to use very simple routing system. So let's just start with the main. So currently our main app look like this. So what we are just going to do, first of all, is try to replace the title. So let's call it like paint your dreams. And here we are going to add initial routes. So the initial route are just going to be like the default route, and for that we need to set the route. Of course, if you are very familiar to Go Router, for example, you can use it, but I want to keep um, this app like very straightforward and simple as you can. So what we are just going to do there, let me just try to create um, yeah, a splash screen. Okay, and import material. Here also create home screen, import the material, and very similar, draw a screen and import the material. Yeah. So here we are just going to call like the splash screen. Perfect. And by default, the user are going to come to the splash screen. For this app, we are not going to have like register or login, whatever you want. We, to be honest, we don't need it. Yeah, we just want to keep our app like very simple and straightforward. So let's create a home screen there, and finally the draw, where we can have like the draw screen. Okay, great. And finally, we can remove the home because by default, these are going to come to the our splash screen page. And inside our splash screen page, what we are just going to try to do is to show, for example, a test called like, I don't know, life is art, for example, and made a very simple animation. And of course, that animation, we are going to improve it later. But yeah, for now, let's just build something that's might look good, you know. So for this splash screen, we are going to um, need animation controller mixed with fade animation. So first of all, what we are just going to do is to try to convert our stateless apps to stateful. Let's just do it like, yeah, great. And we are just going to extend, okay, yeah, great. So now let's initialize like our animation controller, and we can just basically call it controller because it is the only one that we are just going to have there. And animation, let's set this variable and call it, for example, fade animation. The next step will be to create our init state function, very super easy to use. Controller. So inside the controller, we are just going to call like animation controller. So here, what I'm just going to do is to add the duration for my animation. Like if you want it to be like in, I don't know, to span 13 minute or second, you can just set the time. But as far we are concerned, let's just set at 2 seconds. I think that is enough for our animation. Then, okay. So we will say application to begin and to end and set just a controller there. Okay, great. So the next step, for example, will be because this is in our init state, and here we are just basically tell our application to create the animation itself. So after the animation, what we want by default is will be to redirect like the user directly to the home page. So let's just use the future delay and set the duration, for example, for like 3 seconds. So, and if you remember in our main screen, we have like slash home that will redirect us to the home screen, right? So let's just use the home there. Okay, looks great. Now we are just going to work on the build itself, but before that, let's just add the dispose function because we want to dispose the controller. Yeah, great. So let's add a scaffold. I think everyone in this channel know how to do it, right? Because there is a lot of tutorial that you have already explained the basics. If you are looking for some tutorial, or if you are beginner, don't hesitate to scroll down. You will see like a lot of tutorial. So we are just going to use the component fade transition in order to set the opacity for our animation, right? So let's just, and here is the place where we will just write the text we want. So for example, life is art. Today I feel like I can write any kind of, you know, express myself as um dreamer or poet. So um let's just align the center, and here we will apply the star. So we want, you can set the font size of your of your text, and same for the width. So we're just going to show something with the color and keep the blue for the beginning, right? So yeah, I think this might look good. So for example, if I restart, as you can see, of course, I mean, we have nothing in the home page, but we will work on that just in a few minutes. But let me just restart again so you can see the animation. Very, it takes this time, 2 seconds, of course, and then he redirect to the uh, home page. So yeah, great. So now we are just going to work on our home page, but if you remember, I was saying that in our homepage, we will need to have like a grade of all the drawing have we have already made, But for now, what we are just going to do is to keep it like very simple. So add like scaffold. First of all, let's just add a title to make sure that the redirection is like really working to this page. So we're going to add just a button, but later we are going to replace this button um by, I don't know, maybe Flutter action button when the user want to create a new um drawing. So yeah, um so for example, create new drawing, and we are missing like the on tap or on press function. So let me just, yeah. So if I restart the app, you already see the splash screen, then it will redirect automatically to the home screen, and here we can have our button. Of course, we don't have anything in our on press, but let's just use the navigator, push name, and as we did previously for the home, we are just going to, when user click on create new drawing, we are going to redirect it to um our draw screen, right? So, and if I restart and click there, as you can see, we have a something because our draw screen is almost empty. So now we are just going to work on our draw screen, and this is the, I can say, the first big step that we are just going to work on, because I want us to create all the logic for the user in order to let him draw whatever he wants on this page. Then we will implement the Hive in order to store his drawing, and after that we can try to display all his previous drawing in the home screen. And of course, if he want to edit it, he will be able to do it like very simple. And then finally we will just improve our UI and UX experience. So now let's work on the draw screen. So let's just convert our draw screen to stateful, because Of course, we are just going to need it. And yeah, so let's start by init some variable. But for that, what we are just going to do is um to init this variable, like call it like strokes. And you are going to understand what does I want to create this one. So first of all, what I'm just going to do is to create a model in our draw. So let me just come here and create a model, and I'm just going to create like stroke. I mean dot. Yeah. Okay. So here what we are doing is to init the stroke, for example. And so inside, let me just, yeah, add this one. So we have the point, the color, and the brush size. So for each stroke, what we are just going to have is to have the point, and the points are going to be like the list of offset. To offset is like having the coordinate like x and y, for example, for each point that we are just going to draw basically. And the color is the color of what we are just drawing. And the brush size, for example, we can set it like small, medium, and is to have like different size if the user want to change the size. So yeah, but you will better understand what it's mean later. So let's just init this one in the draw page. Then we are just going to add a list where we have like stroke for redo strokes. And what is redo strokes? So the redo stroke list, we are just going to use this list, for example, to undo or redo a draw that user have already made. And we have like the list of offset that is like the current point that the user are drawing right now, the color. So let's call it like selected color, and by default it will be black, and the brush size, of course, that we are just going to say to 4. Yeah, okay. Now we are just going to define different module that we are just going to need. So let's start with the scaffold widget. Set the app bar, of course, and the app bar we need a title as always. And let's just say, for example, draw your screen. And of course later we can just change this title dynamically by passing the name of the drawing once user save it. So if I just refresh the page, as you can see, we have our app bar with title. So if I click on it, so it will show me like this page. Yeah, that's good. Now what we are just going to do in the body is to display the place where the user can basically draw anything he wants. I hope that you are very good at drawing. Like me, I got like a lot of talent. I'm just joking. But yeah. So let's create um so what we are just going to do. We are going to use like gesture detector for that. So the fact that we are using like gesture detector is because we have like a lot of function like on pan start, for example, it is when the user starts drawing. So you have like the current point, we will start the current location when the user starts, where the user starts to draw. If there is an update, like very similar to be honest. Yeah. And once the user finished to draw, what we are just going to do, and as you noticed, we need to store like the all the stroke. So we will create the, yes, okay. And for the point, we use list from and the current point when he end, the selected color that we just defined previously, and the brush size, yeah. The reason that we are not using like this one directly, like set the current point, is because we doesn't want the user when he will change the current point to change also like um the previous stroke point. So the list dot from, what they actually do is to store kind of like having like to create a new list. Yeah, basically to create a new list and store the current point that we are going to pass to them. For example, if the current point have like this value like 1 2, the list, if I apply like the list from, for example, we will have like 1 and 2, you know and if I, for example, made like this and add 3, even if I want to display the list from, we will still have like 1 2 and not 1 2 3. So it's very like immutable. So yeah, basically. So let's just continue. So after strokes, we are just going to set the current point to empty and the redo stroke to empty as well. But I think you will understand this one also later. So this is just for drawing basically. So we need to add a child inside our gesture detector. So here is the place where we will use like the custom paint basically. So we need to have like our draw painter. So we will create our own draw painter and the size like infinite, So let me just remove this. Okay. And we pass also like the current color and the current brush size. So current, I mean, selected color and the current brush size. Okay. So now we are just going to create a class for our draw painter just there, and these are going to be extended with let me just create stateless class. I will just uh, change this to custom painter. Yeah. Okay. Okay, nice. So we need, yeah, as you can see, he said that we need two functions. So don't need like the built one. By default, we can return like true there because we want it to show anything that we are drawing, and all the logic we are just going to apply them inside the paint itself. But first of all, uh, let's just init those variables. So offset, final color, okay, and set also the brush size. So now let's add all of this inside the cone. Okay, why are we having this error? Okay. Oh, it is because we set it like, okay, great. Now we are just going to work on the paint function. So basically, uh, we are going to have like two big steps. The first one are going to draw like the completed strokes. So the reason that we are of, to be honest, you can skip this. You know, if you want, for example, your draw screen to have just one color, and if you doesn't want to have different color to apply every time you change, for example, or select a new one. But by making the difference between like the previous strokes and the current point, for example, it will help us to have like different color that we can apply for our old drawing. So yeah, let's just for each strokes. So here like stroke caps, set it to round, and also we have like stroke width that we just use the brush size. Yes. Okay, great. And so let's just create a new. Mhm. So for each stroke, like for each point in strokes, um, what we are going to do. Let me just create this for loops. Just make sure. Okay. So if the point is different from 0 and the point, yeah, and the next one is also like different from 0, now we will draw. So let's just use draw line. So we need like the 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 points A to B, for example, before paint, you know. So the points A will be like this one, and the point B maybe like this one, you know. So um this is for the previous one, and to draw the current active stroke, for example, yeah, I just I'm adding some commands so you can remember. Stroke caps. Yes, very similar to the previous one. Mm, Stroke width. And there we are just going to use like the current brush size. Yeah. Let me just copy this one. Then what I will do is just current point, current point, current point, current point, and current point. So if I restart all the app, we have our animation, redirect to our homepage, click on our homepage, and never mind about this error, we will fix it. And as you can see, I think during all the tutorial, I'm just going to draw. Oh god. Yes, I'm good, right? So you can play with it and do whatever you want, basically. Yeah, I think this looks like me. I'm joking. I'm very stocks person. You can play with it. So let's continue. So now what we can do is to add, for example, a tools bars where we can change the color, for example, and yeah, other things like undo or redo, for example, the modification that the user can um have already made. Yeah. So first of all, let's uh, just wrap our gesture detector inside expanded. Yeah, so it will fix our error. And now just at the bottom, I mean, you can basically add your tools bar whatever you want, but let's just in our case add it at the bottom, you know. So we will have like a tools bar there just at the bottom, so it will let all the place, for example, for the app. So you know, if you want a better place, you can do this as well. Whatever. Oh god, I have fucked up my. Okay, that's good. Fixed. So for the build toolbars, these are just going to be like a widget. So I'm just going to come here and create a new widget. And for this widget, I'm just going to have like different section. But yeah. First of all, let just create a container. We'll apply like I don't know. Okay. So we are adding just a padding for our toolbars, and we can set a color gray, for example, or whatever. Yeah. And here is the place where we will have like everything. So we use a row, and inside the row we can have like the icon button for undo and redo. Let me just, yes, try to, um, I mean, we should also add like a space between for each item that we are just going, item or widget that we are going to add also. So for the icon, these are going to be, for example, for the undo button. So let me just write this and then I will explain to you like the logic. And this is basically all the logic that is used even if on like text editor sometime, you know, like Word or whatever you want. So yeah. And for the icon, we are just going to use like the default icon. So let's just use like the undo one. Yeah, okay, they have one. So for the redo button, let me just copy this. That's okay. They have this. So we just need to make sure that the redo list is not empty. And redo stock. So if I restart, as you can see, I have my undo and redo button. So for example, if I draw something, as you can see, I can undo them and I can redo them. I can undo one, two, I can basically undo everything and I can redo. Wow, like very amazing, right? So the logic is, if you remember, we have like the stroke list and the redo stroke as well. That is like the list of strokes, and the strokes got like font, color, brush size. Oh yeah, well, I know that you understand. So uh, here is the undo button. We are verifying like if the scroll, like the strokes, sorry, is empty or not. And if the stroke, for example, got the list, like if you have like a stroke that have a list. Let's suppose that I'm just going to write like A, B, C, but let's suppose that A, for example, is um like the coordinate, you know, like is the offset, you know, or the position, whatever. So if the stroke have like the A line, the B line, for example, and if it is not empty, what we are just going to do, for example, once the user click on the undo button, is to save this. Let me just show you. Let's suppose that, for example, this is like the line A, the line B, right? So we have like A, B. So the redo stock, for example, the redo stocks, once we click on the undo button, there, as you can see, we remove the last strokes, like the B1, we remove it and we save it in the redo, right? So if for example I click again, we redo the A and we add it to the redo list. But if I click on the um redo button, so the previous one was the like the undo one. So if I click on the redo button, what I will do is to make sure like the redo list is not empty, of course, and to remove the A and like add it again to the strokes. So we will have like the A. Then if I click once again, like this, we will remove like this one in the redo, add it to the strokes, So we have our undo and redo system basically. Yeah, that's all. So once we have this, now the next step will be to add like I can tell just a drop down button, for example, for our brush. So yeah, let's just do it like so. The brush size uh drop down. So let's just use the drop down. You have like the item, the unchanged, and if you want, we can also display the current one. So you can add as many you want, to be honest. Um, but menu item. But in my case, I'm just going to add like three, like a small, medium, and large, of course. So here, you can copy this and, for the unchange, so if I refresh, currently we have this. I can select the small. For example, if we hadn't separated like the strokes and just use the current point, every time that we're just going to select a new drop down, like it will just change all of them, like all the draw that we made before. But um, as you can see, I can select a small, the large, and yeah, I can do, I don't know, like it is a labyrinth, right? So yeah, and yeah, for this part, that's looks good. So, and the last part, for example, we can add a row for the color. So you can add like the color picker, for example, so the user will have a choice, for example, to select whatever he wants. But first of all, let's create a widget that we are just going to call like build color button, of course. And this one basically what we are just going to display all the palette we want. I mean, all. I'm just going to show some of them. Of course, you can add um, as many as you want, and we have like the on tap logic. So if the user select one of them, we just change the color, of course. Yeah, and set to for example, so we can have the decoration. We can add a border. So let's just use a box decoration. Box shape circle. So for the color, what we are just going to do is to add a border gray if it is selected, or just use the transparent one. Yeah, very simple. Um, yeah. And I think with that, we should just call directly in our row the different color that we want, you know, like for example, black, red, blue. I don't know the color you want. You can basically just add all of them. And if I restart, as you can see, I can have like this thing. Uh, to be honest, I don't know what I'm doing. Look like it is something. I don't know if it is a 3 or um just something in physics. But yeah, and you will have like the blue, the green one, and if you like Bitcoin, you can write a big B, right? Sure. Okay, and whatever. Like if you like money, you can draw whatever you want. If you like peace, yeah, feel free. So basically our yeah draw page is working, right? So if I restart the app, you can see all the workflow, splash screen, homepage, create your design, draw whatever you want. The default one is black, and this is, I don't know if it's called or Sangoku or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, he's very hungry, right? Okay, so for the next step now, what we are just going to do is to add um dependencies for Hive, basically, because we are just going to need Hive if we want to store our draw and display them in our home page. Yeah, so these are going to be like the next big steps. Okay, great. So before we continue with Hive, what we are just going to do is to add some packages in our pub spec. So first of all, let's just add Hive itself. So yeah, we're just going to, I mean, you can basically install like um any version you want, just to make sure that it is compatible with your current Flutter version. So here we have Hive Flutter, and also we are just going to add like um I think this should work, right? We just need to add like build runner and Hive generator. So let's just add both of them in our dev dependencies. So build the runner and Hive generator. Okay, so now what we are just going to do is to start modifying. Yeah, of course, I need to run like Flutter pubget. The reason that I'm writing like a VM is um kind of mm, managing system with Flutter, different Flutter versions, so you can just run like Flutter pubget if you want. So after I install all the packages, what I'm just going to do is um to modify the struct. Um, yeah, so first of all, let's just add, for example, Hive type. So in Hive, everything need to, every class should have a type, and each field of the class itself should have like called Hive fields, and it should be unique for each of them. So for example, for this one, I'll reset the index to 0, um, and we can just, yeah, to 1, and have field to 2, for example. So, but if I just decide, for example, to run after I set the Hive configuration and I run the apps, I'm just going to have error with color because Hive can't handle those kind of type like color, for example, or even offset. You know, Hive is more familiar with type like int, string, list, and very simple and straightforward um, type. But first of all, let's just move to the main and we are just going to init uh, the Hive. So let's add Flutter binding first of all. I mean, and await Hive dot init. In some application, sometimes you will see people, for example, use like Hive dot init and pass the path directly, you know. But to avoid this, because to be honest, we didn't need it. That's the reason that we are using like Hive Flutter. And with basically Hive Flutter, you just need to init Hive by calling Hive dot init Flutter, you know, and this will handle and make sure like your Hive is setting up um as you doesn't need to init it by yourself, you know. And after that, there we will set up like any adapters that we are just going to have in our app. For example, for stroke, we will have like hive.register adapters, and for each of them, we will need to set it up before, and then we will, for example, open a list at the beginning. So this list we will call it, for example, drawing. Of course, if you want, you can create a utils file and just move the string to there. Do whatever suit you or whatever you want. Feel free. So this line, basically what we are just going to do is to open a new box. So for example, the difference between open box and box is with open box, for example, if the box not exist before, it will create it directly. But if I just use, for example, box there, it will return an error if the box is not exist. But we use hive.box later in our DrawingScreen page, of course. So let's move to the stroke as I was saying. So for example, in the stroke, um, what? Let me just try to run. You should run like Flutter pip run build runner like this, and this one are going to generate a new file that are going to call like yes stroke, for example, .g .dart, and these are going to be generated directly by Hive itself. But before that, like I was mentioned, our color Hive can like handle color, so we are just going to convert our color to integer and change itself. Like so, for example, okay. And for the point as well, we will create a new class for offset. Let's just call it, for example, I don't know, offset custom, you know, or offset whatever you want. So we will create like offset.dart, and there in this one, what we are just going to do is to create like offset custom extend hive object. So hive field, so we are just going to set it, and yeah, for each offset, if you remember, offset is like this one. You got like two value, you know. So we are just going to basically do the same like dx and dy. And in our offset custom, we will pass like this. So offset, offset. Okay. Now what we are just going to do is to import. Let me just import. Okay, perfect. And now we will have like a factory that we are just going to use in our struct class to help us to convert the offset to the offset custom, you know. So if I just write like offset custom, I'm just going to pass like the offset and return the offset custom. Great, with offset dot yanks and offset dot gy. Okay. Then we have our offset that may look good. Now we are just going to use it directly in um, the the stroke. But first of all, let's just call this one. The reason that every time we just, if you check Hive documentation, you will see it. The reason that we call like part offset dot j dot dart, for example, is because when we will run like this command, like flutter pub run build runner, it will generate automatically um, those kind of files. They're like the build files. So yeah, and as we just did previously for the stroke, we will add a type, and the type, for example, we can set it to 0. And yeah, I think this should work. So inside the stroke, what we are just going to do is to call like offset custom. I don't know why it's not okay. Okay, custom. So if I click on it, as you can see, okay, and we are just going to use this one for serializable points. So now in our constructor, all the points that we are just going to pass, we are just going to map all of them and convert. So I can just remove this and use from offset like this and convert to list, you know. Mm. Same for the color. So oh, okay, yeah, that's normal. I should just specify that we will pass it like this, and same for the color, we pass the color to the color. So every time we recall like strokes, we pass like the points, the color, and the brush size like we just did before, and we will convert the point that we will receive from by calling from offset that are just going to convert the offset itself to offset custom that we are just going to store in our Hive. So we will have like a list of offset custom like we just defined previously. And for the color, for example, each color you can just call like dot value and it will return like integer. So for example, even if color dot black, if you call this in Flutter and you just add dot value, it will return you like an integer, something like this. And if you want, for example, to use it in your Flutter app, you should call like this one, you know. Yeah, something like this. So now what we are just going to do is to add a list of offsets and call it like of offset points. Okay. Yeah, those looks great. I just have, of course, um in the paint function, as you can see, we got um some modification we should make. Yeah. So previously we call like stroke, but now inside of calling like, because the color is integer, so we will call like stroke color, because it reconverts our integer to let me just move, yeah. So stroke color like this one, okay, it should work. And for the draw line, previously we were called like points, but in this case we won't call like dot point, but we will just call the point directly. So I will have something like this, but these are just going to be like stroke dot offset point. So like this one, because we want to have like a list of offset and not a list of offset custom. So what I can do is just yeah, so let's just call it like this and just modify. um, yeah. Okay, this should work, I guess. So I think that's all. Now we can run, and if there is an error we will figure out like very fast. Let's just run. um okay, so we have an error with our build runner. um oh, okay, yeah. As you can see, he said like to perform a single build we should specify build, and in previous pin. Oh, okay, yeah, let's just run it. Okay, so if I check like the offset, for example, let me just I don't what I want to do is I want to split. Okay, so as you can see we have like our offset there. So this is calling this file, part of. So it generates I'll set custom adapter, and for each type we have like, you know, x, y. So he sets the type double double, and basically yeah, that's all. And same for stroke, and for stroke, for example, we have like, yeah, I failed, cast, yes, brush size, the double, and yeah, looks great. So now in our main page, like I was saying, we should call the adapter, so we will call like register. Yeah, more some, and stroke adapter. And the adapter is the class we just generate previously, and if I click on stroke adapter, we'll have this one as well. Um, so yeah, now in our draw page, there is something that we should implement is the logic of the drawing box itself. So um, if I want to the draw screen, and yeah, I should add the list of strokes and just calling drawing box, for example. Okay, and now we will have like the init state. We can create initialize hive function there, and this can be like just a void because we will not return anything. And I don't think like this need to be like, to be honest, yeah, we can keep it like this and just call our box. And if you remember in the main, just there, we create a drawing box that we just open. So we should not open it like twice. So we can just, yeah, just call the box and just specify the type. If not, we have an error. And yeah, basically this one are going to uh, open the drawing that we just um how can I say it, that we just opened previously. And we will add like dispose function to close, of course. We should not like skip any of those parts, because if not, the Hive configuration won't work. Yeah, that's all. Now if you want, there is the place where we will work on like the save drawing. When the user click, for example, on a save button, so we will save the current, like just the current um yeah, sorry, um yeah, we will just save the current dialog, the current drawing. So, and here, so what we just do is to show the dialog, then save the, but first of all, let's just run to make sure that everything is well configured with our Hive. Yeah. Okay, now let's just run the app. So I run like Flutter run, and yeah, okay, perfect. So our app's still working. Now what you're just going to do is to add like the floating action button on. Let me just close all tab. Yeah. So in our draw screen, let's just move to the berm. So we will have like on person child. For the child we will use icon dot, I don't know if there is save icon. Okay, perfect. So there is save icon, and there we will create a function. Previously, like I was saying, that we will call, for example, show dialog. And the show dialog, I just going to display, dialog, nothing word and something very common. So this dialog, what it's going to do basically is just to have the button like cancel and save one, and just ask the user, for example, um to put a name, for Easter. So let's just have text editing controller show dialog. Yeah, and here we will return like a let dialog. So put a title, don't save drawing. Okay, content. And for the content, we just have like a text field that are going to have the controller. Put just let's just write something. So let's tell the user, for example, enter your drawing name. And for the action, yeah, we have like two button, like I was saying, one for the cancel and one for the save. So let me just duplicate this one. For the cancel, yeah, very simple. We will just navigator. Uh, okay, this is me. I don't know how to write. And yeah, just pop like to close the dialog. And for the child, you can just have just a simple text that's say cancelled. Yeah, that's all. I think it's work fine. Great. And we can just copy paste this and just replace survey saved. And for the on press, we will just if the name is not empty, then we will have our function that can save the drawing in our Hive uh, database. So, and then just close this one. So in our, what we are just going to do, so basically, yeah, our dialog just display two button, cancel and what does I have there? Oh, okay, that's normal. I have not added to the parameter to the function. So we have like top button cancel saved, and the user can basically just save if he wants. So for saving, this is pretty simple. yeah, let me just add this one. Okay, so the user just need to like call his box and use put. So you have like put or put that, but put that just use the index. In our case, we just need like to put. So we have the key that are going to be the name, and we just want to stock all the strokes periodically. You know, it is list of strokes, and later we can just use the same list to just display an existing drawing. Yeah, and finally we can just um, decide to yes to show just a snack bar to tell the user that display text. We can almost display the name also and say your drawing is set. So if for example I came back and he say box no fine. Okay, I should restart the app. Okay, so now let's draw something. I know. I'm very good, right? And yeah, let's just save and say first drawing, for example. And yeah, as you can see, it saved everything well. And he said just yeah, a drawing worth saving. So it worked. We are happy, right? So what we want now is to just display, for example, the name of all our drawing there in our homepage basically, and make sure that yeah, we can just retrieve something that we draw before. So for example, okay, and I also have this error that we should fix. So yeah, okay. So to fix this, what we are just going to do is to modify the stroke class. Um, so for example, in our case, as you can see, what we pass the stroke, there is, for example, in case of the color, we pass the color, but we should not. I mean that we should have something like this because we just define the color as integer, right? And very similar to the point when we pass like the offset custom, and the offset custom itself can convert, you know, the offsets to the can convert the offset, yeah, to the offset custom. So basically it is kind of serialization, you know. So what we are just going to do is to remove those one first of all, and then yeah, in the draw screen now, previously we had like the color type, but now it is integer type, so we should call like the color dot value in order to pass the integer as what we want to stir directly in our stroke. So if I move on to the stroke, uh, now what I'm just going to do is, yeah, let's just move this one there. So stroke color are going to call the color itself because this one get okay offset point. That's good. Now we can add like, I mean, this is just a factory method for easier creation using offset and color if we want to use it later. So um, offset required. Okay. And so if we call, for example, stroke dot from offset, we should return like the stroke itself with some modification that we are just going to do, like this one, for example. So for the point, we are just going to yeah, and for each offset that we are just going to pass, we will just call like offset custom and convert those offset to offset custom, So, and return the list. Okay. And for the color, in this case, I'm just going to pass color like this. And for the brush size, I don't think that there is any difference. Yeah. So if you want, let me just think about it. I want to test something. Okay. Okay. This looks great. So let me just delete all like offset G and just generate them again. So remember, like every time you made a change on the model classes, you should like rerun the build runner, so it will just like recreate those files, like for example offset j.dart that will look like this. I think very similar to the previous one, and stroke as well. So the stroke will have something like this, and as you can see we have like the integer, and in this case we have directly. So if I run the app, I think this should work without getting like different error. Okay, it's running. Oh, okay, now we got like a new error, and this one is due to the fact that we got like kind of conflict with this package win32. So let's move to the pub spec, and what we are just going to do is to override this, this, yeah, pronounce is override, and we're just going to use like the version. Yeah, so you should run like flutter pub get in order to install it and try to rerun the app to see if, I think this should fix the error, but let's just try. Okay, the app is running, great. So for example, if I drew something like, I don't know, let's just call it like, let's suppose that this is new Flutter logo. I mean, you can also say Fabrice, but whatever you want. So let's call it like Flutter logo for fun, and save. Once we save it, so we can move back, and yeah. So for the next step, we will just show directly in our homepage, because currently we just have like one button. So yeah, we should just display all the draw we just made before. Yeah. Okay, let's go. So now what we're just going to do in our homepage, basically, I mean, I should remove like all of these, but let's just start like very simple. Let's convert the stateless to the stateful. Yeah, of course. And now let's initialize our box because we're just going to need this one and just define strokes. Once again, you know, drawing box. Okay, we should import it. Well, and now let's create a function called like initialize y. Very similar if you remember to this one. Um, yeah. So I can just copy this one and yeah. So in this case, we are just initialized. Of course, it is good to. I know that it is not mandatory to put async, but you know, just in case I have to add something later there. So yeah. Um. So now what we are just going to do in the build, just after the build, we are just going to get save drawing name. So for example, final. For now, we are not going to handle like the thumbnail or those kind of stuff. So let's just keep it like very simple for now. Okay, I can specify the type. So it's a string. Great. So for the drawing, we can check barely the drawing names. Okay. So we will use like grid builder. Of course, I know a lot of you guys are very familiar with this. So let's just add padding between each of them. And I don't know. Okay. So put the silver grid delegate with fixed. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. And yeah, just define. This is like for displaying a certain number of item per row. So in this case, for example, I say 2, but you can set it to 3, 4, whatever you want. So yeah, just what switch. And yeah, let's set it to the end. So the item builder part, you know, guys, I want to create new drawing. Let me just think about something before. Okay, I want, yeah, you know, let's just write this. Okay, and for the floating action button, I will use it again and again. Yeah, I know. So I'm just going to copy this test. No, let's just use like the icon if the user want to draw. Do we have like draw? Yeah, this should work. And on press or on tap, okay, on press, and you can just copy this. Okay, so it will help us to not keep this button and just remove it. And now focus on the item builder. So for the item builder, we are just going to need two parameters like the index for each name. So final name will be the drawing name index, and we'll return a gesture detector because we want to be able to tap on like each card and move to their editing, you know, them. And there we are going to set elevation, child, center, child, text, and display the name for now. And let's just say center, for example. And for the style, we can apply text style, the size, and the weight. Yeah, let's set it to bold. Okay, let me just, okay, it's my, okay, okay. So if I refresh, how I got this, uh, there is a lot of wrong data, if I'm gonna call it like that. So we have like first drawing, um, the first logo for fun that we draw previously, and let me just restart and see. Length valid value not include range. Okay. Okay. So never mind. We will just fix this letter. Now let's focus on the on tap. So what we want is when we click on like each of them, we want to be redirected to the like kind of data page or just draw screen, you know. So what we will do is, for example, the navigator, push name, the context, of course, the root name. Okay, I can also pass arguments. So for root name, if you remember, just slash draw. And for argument, we can pass the name, you know, very simple. So if we can pass the name, this will help us later, for example, for editing uh, the previous drawing. So now what we are just going to do is to move to the draw screen. Just there, set like the string. This can be new drawing name, of course. And for the drawing name, we can move to the initialized hive there, and we are going to load the drawing if editing, you know. So for example, final name. Okay, so the root of context setting and argument. So this will help us to get like the argument that we passed. Um, like where's the, yes, there we want to get the argument. So we can just specify the type, and if the name is different from null, the drawing name can have this value. and the stroke. So we will use like this drawing box in order to just get the name. Because if you remember in the save, what we just do is to put the name. We use the name as the key, we just support that. Yeah, it is unique for each drawing. So we put the name and the stroke, so we can get the stroke by just passing the name and find the stroke itself. So uh, once we have this, uh, this can be good. So for example, yeah, in the let me just find in the app bar. Yeah, for example, yeah, the drawing name. Let me find the app bar. App bar. And we can remove the constant. Just there. Okay, this might looks good. For the saved dialog, where can I find it? Okay, just there. So yes, so for example, if the user want to save with a new name, so he can basically. And yeah, I think with this, yeah, we just have the stroke. Okay, so let me just restart the app. Okay, if I click on first draw, okay, yeah, he say box not found, you forgot to call Hive. Open box. Okay, let's stop the app and we are just going to restart in order to make sure like everything is good. Okay, still have the same error. So first of all, in the draw, hmm, let's okay, maybe so drawing. Okay, yeah. So this was the error on. Anyway, for this one, because the problem was the branch error issue was encountering, uh, because the item builder of the grade, like this one, tried to access an index that is out of bounds for the list. And it was because the item count were missing, so we just need to specify how many items, so the length of the list that we got. So yeah, but if I click on this one, as you can see, I got another error, and he said that depend on what's called before. Yeah. So for example, for the draw screen, um, I think we should call the draw screen pending. Yeah, maybe try to call it once the page just load. Okay. So if I restart the app, okay, So now we have another error. He said the list type dynamic is not subtype of. Okay. And okay. So I think he want us to specify um let me see the type. I was thinking that okay. So to fix this error, like you can see, we have list dynamic is not subtype of like list struct. So I think due to the fact that we just specify the type directly inside the box, and yeah, there is also something. I mean, sorry, it's not there. I think there's something weird. But I think we are just going to call, for example, hive dot. There should be like, yeah. This function, for example, as you can see, it deletes all currently open box from the disk, you know. But the only reason that I should just call this one will be to like to delete all the drawing that I already saved and restart my app and just to make sure. But never mind, we will do it together. So here if you remember we got an error where every time he specified that the hive is closed. So we should delete this, and yeah, I think we should just restart the app and make sure if everything will work. But first of all, once we like rerun the app, this line are going to delete like everything in our DB. By DB I mean Hive, of course. So let's just delete I mean everything and restart the app again to make sure that all the data we are just going to save is working well, right? Okay, the app is running. Now we get an error, and this is normal. You know, the error say Hive error box not found. So it's because we are delaying everything that we just opened before. And yeah, now let's just remove this and restart the app again. Like, yes, let's restart the app. Great. So now we are just going to how you draw like something like very fast. Yes. And I call it like face one, saved. And once I come back, as you can see now, we don't have like something that can refresh our DB. So I just hold restart it. Let's draw like another thing, for example, someone, uh, I don't know how to just draw. Yeah, okay. And now I'm just going to click on the first one, like face one. And as you can see, we can just basically in our draw screen get the name, and because the name is kind of unique and help us to get like the list of stroke previously. So here we just get the stroke, refresh it, and it will display like the previous one. So for example, I say like face one, and if I click on it, on the motor, yeah, so it works, and yeah, I'm pretty happy though. Yeah, let's continue now with the next step. So this is working, so it's mean that the problem is due to the fact that it just converts. He can like read the list stroke, the list type stroke directly. So what we are just going to do is to add a list stroke like we just did previously, if you remember. And the difference now, we are just going to create, for example, a variable called raw data. And yeah, so just to make sure like this is working as expected, yeah, we are just going to display the runtime of this variable. And this should display like a list of stroke. And then there, like just convert, first of all, to dynamic and then cast. So the cast are just going to change the type of the list. Like first of all, it reset it to like um yeah, sorry. It resets. Let me just make sure that yeah, okay. Okay, so if I just and I draw something like I don't know. Yeah, let's call it just random. If I restart and click on random, okay, great, perfect, it's working. And as we can see, we saw like raw data type and it showed a list of stroke. So nice. Yeah, great. So we are going to work on the delete button. So what we are just going to do right now is to add, for example, a delete icon, and once the user click on that icon, basically we will just delete like one of our drawing, and then for the next step we will work on like the thumbnail. But yeah, so first of all, let's come there. So I'm just going to keep that like very simple, like I was just say at the beginning. We will use like the set state for refresh the UI after initialize just Hive. And for example, let's create, let me just say, I think they're in our drawer. Yeah, I will just keep like everything, but if you want something like more cleaner, you can just create a folder inside the presentation and call it like widget, for example. But yeah, in our case, let's just call it like delete drawing, and it will have the name, of course. And yeah, what we are just going to do, okay, sorry, I should just, I think he add like the builder directly, the context, and yeah, there we will use like the alert dialog, and we will show the title. So for the title, we can write something like, I just want the text. Okay, so delete drawing. For the text, we can almost show like, are you sure you want to delete, for example, the drawing name and add two action button. The first one will be to cancel, like if the user doesn't want anymore, so you can almost just cancel. I think they should have the autocomplete, but and so navigator off, context dot pop. You can add first if you want, or keep it like that. So this is the first button. Let me just duplicate this and yeah. So it will return false or true for this variable just there. And there, if confirm is true, then we will call like our drawing box and we can use the delete. And for the delete, we should just pass the name, you know. It's because it is final, but I think yeah, let's just keep it like that. So for the name, if you remember, we use the name as the key, you know. So the delete, we should pass the key. For example, like in our case, we got like the key will be like just the name of our drawing, like whatever we want to delete. And then once we just delete one of them, we can just like refresh the UI and let me see. I think we got like already scaffold, right? Yeah, we have one scaffolder. So I can just copy this one and say deleted, right? Um, okay. So now what we are just going to do is to add icon to the card. So let's move to the card and as you can see, we can almost just wrap this inside stack. So the stack need to have like children, and for this one we will just add like the position and we can just use the icon to be honest. And here for the on press we will just call our delete drawing, pass the name, and for the icon we can just use like the delete icon. And we have okay, great. And for the name, I think oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I should just let me just remove this if I can. Okay. You know, I will put it on the column first and then I can just replace. Yeah. Let me just refresh. Okay. Looks like it's working. So if you want to move the position, I mean, we can just set it, for example, to okay, great. And we can add a color, for example, red, because it is something that you want to delete. And if I click, for example, on the random one, are you sure you want to delete like random? I can also write like random drawing. Okay, random drawing, for example. And if I click on delete, yeah, so it's work. And yeah, now for the next step, what we are just going to do is to work on the thumbnail feature. So yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, I have delayed all the drawing. So now we are going to work on the thumbnail like expected. So um, I just came there. As you can see, for example, just in the, I create like utils and create thumbnail helper. So I'm just going to write a function where we are going to use to generate a thumbnail for almost each um each drawing we got, so uh let me just start. And so let's call it generate thumbnail, and this function are going to take different parameters such as strokes. Are going to have like a width and also a head, you know so um inside the function we are going, let me just import, yeah, okay. And for the stroke I should import this one. Okay, so I'm just going to use recorder, and picture recorder basically uh, is a component that we got in Flutter or Dart, whatever, that help us to record almost the canva or the pen that we just draw, so for example, I should start, for example, by creating a background. So let me call it, for example, Canva, this one. Of course, if you want just to copy paste this one, you can check on dev branch and you will got like the source code directly. And yeah, you will just copy it, without writing. But you should writing, it will help you, to just practice. And after that, you can just modify it as you just expect. So we set a background color. So for example, if you put red, you will get like a red color in your thumbnail background. But in our case, let's just write gray. I know it's not like, okay, let's import material. And here we are just going to record the style. So for the style, let's just set it to, yeah. So now we are going to fill the canva with the background color. So for that, the background we just set there, so we just need to call like canva draw rect, and we will pass like the rect from, yeah, okay, nice. So now for we are just going to draw like strokes into the canva because we just got our background there, like this, for example. With this, let me just add a comment so you can, so here we set like a background to the gray, and now what we are just going to do is to draw a stroke onto the canva, so very similar to what we just did before. So for each strokes that we got, let me stroke paint, so stroke cap round, and we are just going to set a width to the stroke and just get like stroke and use the brush size, you know. And now let's just define different points. So stroke, and yeah, now we are going to make a for range. So just check the length, -1. And for each point, just make sure like it's different from 0. So we are just going to draw basically the stroke. So offset +1. And here we should just stroke the paint that we just, got there. And yeah, now we are just going to kind of stop our recording because we finished to draw and just try to create the image now. And for that, we are just going to use like picture to image, and yeah, with 2 ints and 8 to int as well. And we just, because to image just take just integer into params, So yeah. And here let's create a byte data, because it is this one that we are just going to return as a buffer, So to am I writing this? Yeah, okay. And the format that we are waiting for is like PNG. So by data buffer, and yeah. Okay. So now we got our generate thumbnail function. So the next step will be to move to the draw screen and to try to make some update into the save drawing function. If you remember, we got like save drawing function there, and we just call it, for example, when the user want to save like a specific image, So into this function, we are just going to generate like the thumbnail. So for that, let's just, where is the, let me just try to find, never mind. So I was looking to just copy paste, but I will just import it like very fast. Thumbnail, and we are just going to call our generate thumbnail function that are going to take like strokes, and let's set width and height, of course. And here, yeah, we are just going to change our um like to save the stroke and the thumbnail, because currently we just save the strokes, but we are just going to change this one like this. And now we will start like let me just see. Okay, so yeah, and there we can call like the thumbnail, and just call the thumbnail we just generate before, and this is normal because if I just pass my cursor, you can read that the argument type map string can be assigned to the parameter list strokes. And here is the problem, because we need to change this, because previously the type was just a list of struct, but now we should have like a map. So like this one, and it should be like string and dynamic, something like this. But in our initial Hive function, where we just open the box, we are just going to change the type as well, because now our drawing are going to be like this one, you know. And let me just check. So uh, once we get now, like if we get this, these are going to be a map. So we should call like structs like this one, you know, because previously it was just a list of structs. So now we need to call like to just specify structs. So it will continue to just draw to get our previous drawing points and just generate it, like very simple and straightforward. So now let's move to the home page, because we are going to have like the same error there with the drawing box. So we should just change the type as well for our drawing box. Same for her, for there, sorry. So we are just going to have like hive.box and set the maps and the drawing, right? So now what we are just going to do is to move directly to the item builder, like item builder, and inside item builder, of course, if you got your app in production, for example, and you are just made it like this change, probably we are going to have like cache problem, and to resolve that you should make like kind of conditional to make sure that if for example the uh how can I call it, like the drawing box type, like dot run type is maps, for example, you can make the difference between the old version and the new one. But in our case, we are just going to remove all of that, and let's create a data drawing box get name. Just send like the thumbnail. Okay, so here we will get like the data and the thumbnail from the data, because it is what we are just looking for. And now let's make some modification just there. I'm just going to replace the card that we got previously. Let me just try to wrap this like uh, cross a line. Okay, so we are just going to have um to create the image, and this image are going to show you. We are just going to use image memory. The reason is image memory are going to like taking parameter like points 8 list, and this is the return from that we are just going to get from get generate thumbnail. So yeah, inside this one we should just display our thumbnail like this, and we can almost like, sorry, that's me. And yeah, just, and after that we can replace this and just add a padding to the text that we got like previously. Okay, I think this should work. Let's refresh the app. And okay, yeah. So also for the open box, don't forget to replace and set like map string, as we just did for like the box itself, like just change the type. And now we are just going to try to draw something, and yeah, just call it like, I don't know, like head. And if I restart, now we got an error. But as you can see, we got our gray background there, and we should just make sure uh, why we are getting this error. Let me just check the stack. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I think we should wrap this. Oh, sorry. Um, like the image, because the image is like taking a lot of places. So let's put it during expand, and if I refresh, okay, now we got our title. And yeah, and for example, if I try to draw something, I don't know, like this one, and I call it like random, you can see like it generates a random. So every time we are just generating like different images, and for those images, I mean, like it is just let me just try. Yeah, for example, um you can change it whatever you want, and just, but yeah, it's working basically. So yeah, now we are just going to make some updates, and yeah, I think we got our app, right? Now yeah, let's just delete like everything, but this is like broke art. And if I come back, you can see that it's not reloading. I need to like click on it before. So um what we are just going to do is to add like a sync value there, set SS states, and I think this should just restart the app. Yeah, and for example, wow, okay, great. So it's working now. We can just change the color. I don't know if you like purple, but hey, purple. Okay. And we can also remove this if you want. And for our animation, we can change and use purple, of course. So we will have something like this. Of fire, or even paint, I don't know. Yeah, we are getting a new error, right? I know. So yeah, it looks, I like purple color, so uh, and yeah, okay, great. So definitely what we can do as well I'm back there and add an action button. Icon, icon stilate. And I'm just going to create this one. It should be like async function, and through boxing, and yeah, I think, not sure, but let me just test. Okay, so what I'm looking for, okay, I think, let me just try to, I want to break this, save. Okay, so if I put, I think I can delete from there. Okay, it's working. So if I restart my app, as you can see, it asks us to draw something. For example, you can add an image there or whatever you want. For example, if it is like empty, and yeah, you can decide to do whatever you want. Mix the color, change the size, of course, add another color, undo, redo, saved, push the name, and here. So it's working. And if you want to change, I don't know if you should keep like just white there. Test. Okay, yeah. So, um, hope that you like it, and yeah. Okay, so if I wrote restart the app, you can see that I'm just going to get on error, and he said like map dynamic is not subtype of map string. So this is the problem with Hive. So basically, what we are just going to do is, in we are just going to replace the type, because sometimes he can't really handle the fact that we just put string for the first parameter. So let's replace all the map string by just a dynamic one. So we will have something like this, and definitely this should work, and yeah, that will be the end for our app. But for everyone that are looking for the source codes, as usual now, we are just going to put the source code on dev branch, and dev branch is the platform where all the source code of Flutter guys um are saved now. So if I just shut down this and restore the app, Okay, so let's draw something. Okay, and if I were to restart the app, now you can see that yeah, it's working. And if I click on that, so you have finished with our app. It's working. We show the title. We can change the color if you want to draw something else, and if you want to rename it or just keep the same name, you can just and yeah. I think now you can play with this. If you want to improve it, or even if publish it on store, you can. You just feel free just to download the source code and dev branch, get access to it. You can add some good idea, as for example, try to let the user create his account, share his drawing with other people's, improve the tools bar, yeah, and yeah. So I hope that you really like and enjoy this funny tutorial. Yeah.